If there's one thing I enjoy of our 5D collective, of the lovely future humans, is that we know how to use our subjective experiences, reality, beliefs in ways that are inclusive, because we are not our activated states. And so when you do check out our lovely new journal prompts and mindset practice, the one day, and there's a bundle, it's on PayHip, you'll notice how the capacity for us to be both activated and or emotionally reactive and aware comes easily, because we don't suffer life, because we don't suffer our body. So that's because we don't suffer our stories, our beliefs, because we don't suffer our feels. You don't suffer your nervous system. Okay, so life's purpose, life's meaning, all of the words in this world, the 5D collective has fun with them. And when I say that, it's a present and future collective. And obviously that's from the mystic woo-woo pseudoscience lady, because that's the point. When I use the word, I'm not offending the spiritual or mystic ones. I'm actually doing my best to let you know. Fun fact, I know Neil deGrasse, not personally, but he's science. So as he points out, science is data. That's objective. We have yet groups that are flat earthers. Okay, so the fun 5D collective doesn't actually insult those who are small-minded. And when I say small-minded, what I mean is that they have not the capacity to notice that we all have different beliefs, but that the objective facts and data are a handful, and that they're experts that continue to conduct research, continue to come together, continue to work as a team, might I add. And so when you meet love-based leaders, those are real leaders to anyone who's also a love-based leader. And that's our 5D collective. Those are people who are using their human potential. So they are not their activated state. It means you're not your emotionally reactive and or charged. All the feels in the world are not facts. You know what facts are. Okay, so that's where number one. And as I continue, because if you're new, you don't know, I bring in this and that, and I do use words interchangeably, because that's how I have fun with my own communication tool, my voice. And unlike Ariel from The Little Mermaid, who gave up her voice, those of us who have a comfortable body, we have a comfortable mind, so I don't suffer my nervous system. And that's why my 0-1-year-old, when she wants a hug, like my 3-year-old, she gets a hug. But I don't actually talk about them to myself as a 1-year-old or 3-year-old. And as a mystic and spiritual one, when it comes to our twin flames, channeling, downloading, telepathy, and all the clairs and spiritual gifts, you just bring it all in. And do know that our quantum physicists also look into it. So it's all actually something that's amazing. So the 5D collective are a number of mystic, spiritual, mindful who will over time join us here on YouTube, on Spotify, Substack. Some of you will use the PayHip journal prompts and mindset practices. Some of you will look to the future. I'm going to be planning some more content, so stay tuned. But in the meantime, belief is just psychological alcohol. Alcohol works on your body. Belief works on your mind. Thank you, Sadhguru. However, Sadhguru, excuse me, my thoughts, when they're mine, I know. And then when I'm channeling and downloading, I know. It's like a flower. The rose has one perfume. The other types of flowers, like a tulip, has another scent, right? Okay, so that's how easy it is for me to let you in on. Fun fact, when I became a mystic, the energetic imprint stuff, yes, it's very clear. Okay, so I bring in human elements to spiritual and spirituality elements. Why do you want to stick around? There's a bit of story. There's a bit of also explanation on how when we're interacting with each other, and in this case, we can perceive and transcend suffering because we differentiate and then we link. So my mui is not affected because I don't actually co-regulate, meaning I do co-regulate because we all co-regulate, but I don't actually regulate to the other person's nervous system if they're dysregulated. And there's a term for it. I don't remember it at this moment in time. But what I've noticed is people who don't know how to yet perceive, transcend. So with this lovely body, I can perceive, then I can sustain another person's nervous system and more, because I tapped into not only others in my vicinity, but the entire globe. And here's where there's plenty of science's brain, smart ass, fucking amazing human beings who have talked about it. So it's not emotions that are contagious. It's not the emotions. It's not like I can affect you with my emotions. It's the active nervous system, and it's called those who are dysregulating, and they are bringing us their charges, which is why when I asked Dr. Daniel Siegel about supporting me with this, which was perceiving the room and or those who I work with personal growth and spiritual growth, I didn't mention the mystic stuff because I didn't think it was ideal for the class environment. This is the part of where when people meet the amazing human beings who are bringing forth findings that are accumulating and that not only confirm mindfulness, that's training of the mind. So with Dr. Daniel Siegel's mind sight, and then also meditation and mindfulness practices support ventral vagal toning. Okay, so science is showing how it has 5 positive changes in the body. Now, see, this is where the people who are denying science is changing you, and they're sticking to ancient stories of a good team and a bad team. That's like, okay, no, really, the scientists are now explaining to us how people can get to their origin, their actual nature. The kingdom of God is within everyone. Thank you, Jesus. Or as Sadhguru has pointed out, the seed of enlightenment is within everyone. So every human here in their heart can be fulfilled because they can get freed from self-loathing, gut-wrench, torn apart, and or nervous system dysregulation with having that which is called suffering, because they will have loss, illness, uncertainty, disappointment. Those are active aspects of pain. Or they see the world, they feel overwhelmed, so hopeless and helpless. And so the dark night of soul ain't a real deal thing. It's only for the people who don't know how to sustain their own nervous system because they're not able yet to self-regulate. And so to transcend and move beyond an emotion that is called sadness, by the way, that is one of our bonding, and it's actually part of all people. Plus, when we get rejected by each other actively, it's like getting stabbed in the heart, the part of the brain that lights up. Okay, so when science is showing how we're all made of love, meaning we're all made of the same potential to have this ventral vagal state, and the ones who are denying it, it's based on their belief. So again, their belief is that the word changing means that it's making us different. And that's why the ancient ancestors who are living right now and don't take their kids to hospitals, they think that we're evil. The ones of us who are learning to write and read and do math, there's a bunch of other groups that are joining them, as the Dalai Lama made a call saying, hey, we're all here to support humanity, learn compassion. And guess what? I didn't see any of those organized entities joining with the Dalai Lama and saying, yes, let's use a new word to bring it all in. And so here's where the 5D collective, we're all humans. And then we bring in all of the information. Do you know how it works? Anima Mundi. So as a channeler and downloader, I don't prove spirituality or mysticism. Actively, I am aware that it's about the plane of invisibility, and that those who are of science, some will make fun of us, and those who are thinking they know what reality is tangibly, and so they say what's invisible is bullshit, you just leave it alone, because here's where that's called subjective experiencing, and that it's supporting facts, which is fine. But guess what? We don't have the flat earthers around because of people like me. We have the flat earthers around because they have their epistemic trust broken. They follow fear-based leaders around who lie to them, and they are arguing with a man named Neil deGrasse, who probably, when he came out with his video again on here, the earth is round, they're like, that's bullshit. And so I do enjoy epistemic curiosity, discipline, diligence, and the scientific plane, for it's sad to say that the first disappointment of my life was, hey God, listen, I don't know about Lucifer, this monster. I was 20, but I've seen what all humans are capable of. And well, they all have an answer for why they act like assholes. The teenagers and the cloak people, I kind of feel afraid I'm saying this, and I felt a tidbit of guilt, but I was like, but they're not you. Where are you? Lovely, lovely. Hold on, I have notes somewhere. as I've read this passage to you many, many times, and it's about how God encourages, comforts, supports, and strengthens his children, and how the word of wisdom, it is by diffusing conflict and creating clarity. Okay, so as somebody who is a spokesperson from the spiritual, mystic, and 5D collective, because it's all love frequency, Christ consciousness, is not about one of our ancient ancestors' stories. And in fact, it's the part, to me, I don't know all the specifics. They're not stories, but I don't identify with every group and then nounify them would be the word that, lovely. Thanks, Dr. Dan. It helps to use words that you use. So I'm not going to make them into a piece of stone, like, Medusa, where she looks at you and then have it sink. I can talk about them, and they can continue to exist with us in the absence of holding back our human species from advancing and becoming not only better because of being people who understand how to stay grounded in reality. Thank you, Sam Harris. All of our cherishable beliefs could be falsifiable, but science is data and facts. So thanks, Neil deGrasse. So the word belief, I personally don't subjectively enjoy using it at all. And when someone's like, so don't you believe? So change to this. It's like, you know what? Let's call suffering, pain, rumination, resistance, nervous system dysregulation. Can I go? I really don't want to hang out anymore. So when people are obtuse in a way that doesn't allow for growth to take place, they don't move into the future because they won't be continuing to evolve with our species. But you don't shame someone into evolving and into learning. You also don't shame out of someone, and grandiosity don't look any better. It just looks even worse, actually. So when somebody's convinced that they're badass and they're not, I have words. I'm trauma informed, as you can tell, and then with God, I do know he always will come in, encourage, comfort, strengthen, and support, and I'm not afraid of how he's going to support us to become the best version of ourselves, because he's not a scary monster, and there's no evil that could beat him, and there's no evil at all because he's perfect, and he created perfection. Healthy perfection accepts that there's mistakes. Healthy perfection doesn't feel abandoned by God or rejected, or basically like we're the special group. We don't do the Cain and Abel thing. You know what I mean? So when people have envy, jealousy, spite, they compare, they're insecure, there's people who inside their belly, they have this thing called this little energy. They don't notice where it's coming from. And the attachment trauma educators have explained it. And so I know of so many different people who are doing therapy, it's great, and they will be jealous and envious of people that they love. That means they will actively look at someone who's happy and they will not want them to be happy. The whole misery wants company. Yeah, so here's where, let's not use those sayings though, because they don't actually allow you to understand the truth. And this is not subjective truth. This is based on attachment trauma education, which is data, and it's going to continue to build. So a suffering human being who's identified with their 0 to 8-year-old non-metabolized trauma time, who their development of their brain was impacted and affected. So you know what I'm saying? So we don't have to give green passes. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but we don't need to be casting stones, nor calling them evil, nor actually pointing fingers at the ones who are spiritual and divisive, by the way. The scientists are divisive, luckily, because scientists are logical, and they tend to be intellectually savvy to the bejesus of them. If there's one thing that's sexy, it's not only emotion intelligence, it's actual mental intelligence with the emotion intelligence. And when I hear Dr. Daniel Siegel's stories, I'm always laughing inside and out. I'm like, man, you're the man. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. And when you meet any badass people, whenever they're dealing with any of that, which is suffering and arrogance and ignorance and dumbassness and a bunch of more shit, they are actively able to not only respect those human beings, but make fun of it in such a way that it's classy. You see what I'm saying? So no one's going to go proving spiritual or mystic stories because God made us perfect, and creatorship is not imperfect, and it doesn't want to experience the suffering stuff. But you better bet that if some people are going to stay in their suffering frequency, identify with it, and they will nounify, so their charges stay the way they are, then they will stagnate. So they won't be looking any better because they're dysregulated, they're in distress, and really they won't notice a difference though, because their actual narrative with their emotional charges and their entire history will come forth to where they say, see, I told you, I was right, I was right. And it's, yeah, your subjective experience and the way you're adding up the dots. I can't, hey, flat earthers, you're doing great. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Wow. I really don't know what to say. So, friendship is a sheltering tree, Samuel Taylor Coleridge. And what I want to say also is thank you, James Russell Lowell. One thorn of experience is worth a whole wilderness of warning. You won't have the capacity to explain to someone that objective truths, meaning data, like from a Neil deGrasse source, are facts when they're actively saying that they know the truth and here's all their proof. And for spiritual ones and mystic, it's the downloads they get, and I know all about it because I get downloads too. So you see what I'm saying? So we don't get rid of the suffering of the world with our one little fingers because we don't fix people. They're not broken. Every individual has the significant and important role of owning their own body, and we then have laws that support us to continue trying to conduct in a way that's physically safe the rest of it. And so when people don't learn how to grow up, eventually laws like the seatbelt thing come out, right? Okay, so luckily we move into the future, and when it comes to tapping into the sphere, nobody feels more special or less special or like someone's gonna win. And when there are the 4D who are picking up on messages, you'll notice they're always talking about some imminent, very important decision that we must make and that we will achieve success, but it's always with this suspense, kind of like an action movie. So when you're living that which is one day is going to be history, but you already know what the choice points were and how it could have went a lot smoother, but that there's a bunch of small-minded groups of human beings out there who actually side with one extreme group of fear-based leaders, the other with the other extreme fear-based leadership group, and as groupies do, they venerate and they bow down to each other, and then they continue to use bigger words. With great power comes great responsibility. Okay, what's great power again? Because pretty sure there's a bunch of people out there who could be doing this thing of trying to help educate people, but I'm going to stop right now because the nervous system prioritizes predictability. And so with that, we don't carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, and when people continue to make their choices and they suffer life, you're going to just be there as a friend when you're down and troubled and you need someone. So and then for the big world, like I support people on their inner growth journey with the journal prompts, the mindset practices. We have the inner growth mindset main modules there for free on the main website. Okay, so the Substack community is there for those of you who are going to continue to allow yourself to work with your emotional activation and bring yourself to steadiness. So by being yourself under activation and by showing children what it means to be a third attuning and repairing ruptures with yourself and others, and so to mature your behavior, and that means to bring forth compassion, you do carry on the baton of forgive, for they do not know. Stephen Porges confirms what Jesus had mentioned about forgiving and not knowing. He just confirms it with science. Biologically rude people don't know that they're actually doing something that is biologically rude. So emotionally immature people have an underdeveloped brain. I believe the right mode is underdeveloped, but I don't forget I don't remember all the specifics at this point. Okay, so allow me to just pause and continue with some stories. So when you're working with your own personality patterns and your temperament, and you continue to expand, and you become a mystic and spiritual, and you have channels and downloads and all the clairs, you don't think that those who make fun of you are being rude. You just know that they don't actually want to notice that they don't have the experiences. But then you also remind yourself that when they meet spiritual bypassers, It's kind of why they tend to think that all of us are in that category. So anyways, I do know that we have a nice online world that brings different communities together. And for our community, the 5D Collective, we're not carrying the world on our shoulders because the world isn't heavy, because we're not suffering life. And so by being able to differentiate and link, that means you're able to anchor the ventral energy and you're not feeling overwhelmed by that which you see. Of course, it's nice to hug yourself and then to have a good support system, and that's why you have people that you can love and they can love you, and that is really, really great. And so you know how to continue moving into tomorrow. And when some people would like to play a bigger role, you know, there's plenty of people who play a bigger role in our species day to day. The ones who play the biggest role of all help people to become their own leaders, and then they help people to come together even when there's those different beliefs. And that's why we don't tell people that are 3D, 4D, emotionally immature to have to mature themselves. You learn to self-regulate, to then allow yourself to remember how to differentiate, to have compassion. And in your prefrontal, you say, wow, I'm so sad that they're going through that stuff. I hope they will feel better at one point. And then with the grounded in reality, objective data of 0 to 8-year-old non-metabolized trauma time, they play out their entire story on a wheelhouse. There's our karma who solidify and stagnate, and they know everything. And so they don't actually continue to grow themselves, but they don't need to be, you don't cut the cords. Archangel Michael, who keeps coming, he's just keeping on letting me know that he's going to be there for all of those of you who are spiritual, mystic, and do enjoy to have that which are those references and experiences. And so that you may not need him to cut cords, but you can call on him when there's moments where you are needing a bit of a boost of energy and strength, and also clarity of the mind. So yeah, that's why he's right here. He's right here right now. And people were like, did you smoke something, Maria? No, I didn't smoke shit. I don't do drugs actively. My brain is only thing, a little bit of smoking that which is called a cigar, no drugs at all, and then a little bit of wine. And so, you know, but it is beautiful. When I began to download and channel, I will never forget, I just like, that's not happening to me. Oh, that's so weird. No, that happens to, you know, our saints and our people from the past. And when people are like, but we're anointed, I'm like, no, we're not anointed. That's a word from the ancient times. We're just people, and we're tapping into a sphere. And today I can tell you, I'm happy scientists have caught up and are talking about it. So when your body is made in the perfect way and your mind is too, you understand how to utilize it. That's because you stay with solid foundation. And here's where your 3-year-old is at and your 1-year-old. And so when I was a teenager, I got to be lucky and I got my first light body experience with my catechism. And then when I got my second, I could recognize it. And then your energy body expands. So you don't need a code to spiritually awaken or ascend. What you need is to own the body and own the brain and own the mind. And so you don't actually disregard your very strong emotions or your channeling or downloading, but you do not project upon people that which are stories of energy vampires or dark auras. But that's because you're not actually overwhelmed by your own embodied brain. You also, though, know that all of God's creations are people. So by staying grounded in reality, you're not projecting. You see what I'm saying? But that's also because your embodied brain is not overwhelmed by the downloads. Okay, so your brain is a conduit, as Dr. Danny Siegel calls it. And when it's integrated, it means your default mode network is downregulated. So that's why your insula is lit up, your body's safe, your brain is integrated, and you're not in this alert stage, but you instead know how to be in your prefrontal, and you already continuously do this. So for me, for example, panic attacks were the worst part of the energy body expanding. Other than that, I've been to many different multidimensional planes, a lot of stuff. And for Twin Flames, we're going to use those stories because that is a very, very unique bond. There's no bond like it. when I first shared it with the first twin flame, I got thought of as basically broken. Someone said the word broken. Actually, this was where it was funny. I got this gift that I never opened at all, meaning I didn't read the book because I found out why I was given the book. Once they got their twin flame, that's when they admitted that they thought I was a whack job about the twin flame thing. And I don't really do the, oh, so I was right and you were wrong thing, because that's not satisfying. Intelligent people understand what it is for people to suffer life. And then really for people to be hypocrites, no, what's the word? Basically, not notice how judgmental they are in assuming that someone's a whack job because of the spiritual experiences. Okay, just saying. So, but I get it, because mysticism is where it's easy for me to explore the invisible and to actually tap into sphere, because that's what my life has been. I love science because the science is not confusing. It actually continuously provides the truth, which anyone who's aware, the ways to God, I'm the co-author, one of the co-authors out of the 9. Yes, we all know it's from the heart, the ways to God. So those different groups that stay separate, they can keep doing what they want with their words. We won't be following those who are like Peter Pan and Lost Boys with Wendy and their Pinocchio on an island, because that's the part about their insula is downregulated, not active. So they're cut off from their body and they are in their sympathetic energy, and with their modulated stance, they want to prove and they want to fight. And so there's a self-righteous low frequency, and they're dehumanizing the groups that they decided are bad groups and that they don't like. And so they're casting stones, and actively they're playing that they're the bearers of truth. There's Archangel Michael again. And it's like, that's not, no, you're not. So it's very clear when people are out to basically get that which is something that they think they're deserving of, and then they have a good team and a bad team, and they're playing a role that they're just going to leave it alone. But my point is, no need to be afraid, children, because good and love always win, because good and love equal emotional intelligent, mentally intelligent, and humanity has consistently gone through it, and there's always been the 8 billion of us, or however many before and however many now, who come together and say, complex systems don't have perfect formulas. So our anticipation machine, our brain, will use its own, the brain is reading a model of its body, Lisa Feldman Barrett. So it's only once you're a clear vessel that you can know, okay, all my strong emotions, put them over here. I learn from smart experts. Here's all the data points. I don't need to use the past to present what the future will look like, because that's not how it works, but I want to make sure to understand the past. So with that very, very calm body, as you learn new things, and as you have no bias towards humanity being evil, mean, wrong, because my humanity wasn't broken, so God made us perfect. There's a bigger picture that some people are missing out on. Okay, so when people have their beliefs and they're like, how dare you, neutrality means nothing. It's neutrality means I can actually sit here and respect each other's opinions, and that's how it works. And then we can together remind ourselves of different professional roles and of different countries, and we continue to move with ease, because that's why emotional intelligence is sought out, by the way, by big corporations. Well, I don't know, depends if they're actually caring about bringing forth emotional intelligence, or just because it's like some fancy label that now they have decided that they want to train their people in. The Zen master, he's not a Zen master with his laundry. He's just got the title. So see, this is why somebody having a title doesn't mean anything to me yet. But somebody telling me how they failed in school and they decided to drop out, and that they are better than somebody who went to college, and that they are making more because they're a billionaire entrepreneur. So make sure to drop out from school and follow in my footsteps. Yeah, I think that's not what I will advise at all. I would say, children, that's a person who didn't put their best foot forward. Apparently, dropping out of school was something they were okay with. Maybe their parents didn't tell them about how school is important. but you might not make millions with college. However, don't necessarily think that it's because they dropped out. Actually, I saw someone interview a billionaire who said it was kind of about luck. Like if I went back again and I didn't have the same pieces, I wouldn't be a billionaire yet. So do please remember that we have luck. Although chance favors the prepared mind, as I think, what's his name? John Pastor or something like that. Josh Pastor. So you do want to be a person who knows how you work and how the world works. So the past doesn't repeat itself because we will have learned from the past. But those who judge humanity and think we're a piece of shit, they actually think that they have an edge when they're using the past to predict the future. And at the same time, again, let's not jump too far ahead. So choice points, baby steps. As we get encouraged, comforted, and strengthened, we will be nudged accordingly. So it's not a huge paradigm shift. Whenever there are huge tower moments, and I do it this way because the reality is there are always going to be moments of our time where when they write in the books, it will be like, there's a big, but the way you tell a story versus when you're living it, you know what I mean? And so not minimizing what we're dealing with right now, just saying that when we write in our history books, here's the part of where if they choose to finally allow themselves to moderate how they're using their words, maybe we'll have better, accurate books. If instead we have groups that are charged as they're writing those books, then we might have something different because the charges actively convey. So tainted emotions convey a picture and a message. And that's why some people think there's controversy. And then that's why some people don't enjoy the ones who are like, look, we all are emotionally invested in the planet. We just don't all get dysregulated when we're trying to conceptualize and talk about that which is the present, moving into the future. And this is the part that people say is boring to those who basically seek their nervous system's predictable, not secure pattern and that small dopamine hit and the adrenaline stuff. And so when people need to be motivated with a big push, and that's because they are thinking that intensity is life, while it's regulated intensity that leads you to be deep, and then that leads you to not suffer life, and that means stability is what you repeat. And that's why the mindset practices and journal prompts allow you to consistently regulate depth and intensity, and you don't get bored. The enlightenment soul age group, not boring. Restored embodiment, not boring. What's boring is actively continuously noticing different groups of people who are carrying that which is a lot of hatred and anger and charges, and we would do a lot better if we were together, united. At the same time, right now, I was having a thought, because even if we were all enlightened at this point in time, we still have some situations that we're dealing with. And so it is really fun to look out there in the world and notice our choice points. That's all I can say, because if you're watching, you notice. So let's talk about internet, shall we, for a minute? I'm going to use that as an example. I remember when I first got online and all that good stuff, and I remember the resistance of a lot of companies to have people working from their computer. So resistance to change. I do know of vilification of AI and people like disgusted with technology. I mean, you got people doing YouTube videos in the forest with their big fancy ass cameras, beautiful equipment, and it's get off of the internet. And it's like, wow, but you are on the internet. Like, if you had any integrity, you wouldn't use internet to spread the word. You'd go walking and knocking door by door and telling all people to get off internet. So I kind of have to laugh. This is where we all want. I want to be, oh, it is right. Oh, it feels right. We all want a world where it's about what is right. And what I'm trying to get at is we get there. And that we get there with what are called baby steps. At the same time, sometimes, yes, there are bigger pushes. And this is the bigger pushes that we get. They weren't necessary, some of them. So when I, again, go back in time, with meaning right now when I think of the past, I remember posing the question, I wonder how we're going to have more people adopting computers that help us to do more things, because I'm seeing there's so much resistance when it doesn't make sense. Now, we still have so many people who are like, oh, it's bad for you to give kids the computer. They should be able to write. Their brain isn't going to use certain specific neural pathways, and they're going to use others. So we have all these different concerns, and concerns are good, and so is talking about them. But we want mature, emotionally speaking, people who are therefore mentally intelligent, and so they're not looking at any of that which are technology and the online world with biases that are charged, like the person out in the forest who said, get off of the internet. You're an inconsistent hypocrite. So bypassers are people, the spiritual and somatic, that have a big charge over something, and they've created a good team and a bad team, and then you'll spot as they continue with that. Now, any of those who are thinking that's the future, that's not the future. The future is made of people who are busy in their day-to-day contributing to society. It doesn't matter what their role will have been and will be. And so in my case, I inspire human potential. We chit chat. There's mindset practice and journal prompts on PayHip. There's our Substack community. At the beginning, we were also having paid subscribers for Spotify and the podcast. For now, that's been paused, but there's still the subscription-based option available. The Inner Growth Mindset Program, there's the free main module online modules for the beginners, intermediate, and advanced. Okay, so supporting people to be themselves. And today I can recognize how important it is, because when you are aware that you are not your activated state, and so you're not suffering life, fortunately, whether you're mystic, spiritual, or mindful, you're doing every one of the people around you and yourself a favor, because you are contributing to the ventral energy of the planet. And even though it seems ridiculous, it's not. Even though it seems like it's ridiculous, our nervous systems pick up on each other, and they are all meant to have this ventral energy. But above all, that's our rest and rejuvenate, because that's our ease state. It's when you can just sit here and it's like, it's okay, we have a herd. And now that's been magnified, because now we know of the 8 billion of us, and now we know of all the stuff that's going on. But when it comes to the mass media, what bleeds leads, and then to the YouTube ones who are playing with that charged and that suffering stories and the algorithms that are, triggering you to click, but it's not because of the algorithm as much as it is the people who are consistently navigating in a specific way the online world. And well, as I get more comfortable with talking to you all about it, it's not amazing to meet stupid consumers, because I don't blame the internet. I will not blame, because that's bad manners. I will say conscious human beings who are smart will be moderate. They will support moderation. They will continuously question with curiosity. They will also make choices. So like the whole vaccine, I'll bring that one in. I don't personally think I need to have all these vaccines all the time, because I am a big believer in my body's strength. But I'm not against it to the point of saying I won't ever get vaccines either, or that they're trying to do something to me. So this is the part of where it's always going to be a 50-50. But what you want, if you're a smart consumer, you'll do your own research, and you'll find the experts who are going to give you, here are the pros, here are the cons, here is the 50-50, and here's whatever. When you meet those who are extremists, you have to do it or you don't have to do it. Then they bring to you their data points, the way they're adding it up. It's pretty clear what they're doing. They have a bias. They have a very strong bias, and it's usually a survivorship bias, which is basically something that involves a negative component and or a strong component on the other end. So toxic positivity, toxic negativity, if you will. And so here's where likes and dislikes are not what we look to when it's experts. Experts need to tell us, doesn't matter if they like the study or not, you give me all of the different studies and you actually give it to me so that I can understand it like I'm a 5-year-old. And then you present to me the percentages. And with a person who's an expert, you're going to get all of that, because they're not going to get irritated to tell you all of the information. If any expert gets irritated to tell you the information, then they get in their grandiose little assholeish attitude. Just remember, I've had people that I have went back to because they do great at their job, physical therapy, and it's an osteopath that I'm thinking about. But when the mannerisms came up, don't think that it's going to heal your back, the Schroth method. I was in like, oh my God, I better not do it anymore. It was, wow. Oh, I'm so sorry. Who knows what your dad treated you like? Because for you to do that, I mean, wow. Because, sometimes they carry on the tradition of the household profession. And so if somebody can have that type of mannerism, I don't think, oh, all doctors are assholes. No, I just think some doctors are assholes, some are not. And we want more of people that tell all of those who are in school. Because, see, I was on a subreddit group just the other day, and there's a therapist who's in training, and she's like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. And she was talking about how it works with the insurance, not the insurance. So, to me, here's personal responsibility. As a professional, I don't sell you crap. I don't undersell you. I don't oversell you. I don't sell you bullshit, meaning I know what I'm here to support. And so when someone is wanting personal growth, spiritual growth, that's because they're mature people who are smart consumers. If they're, what I say, stupid consumers, it means knee-jerk reaction. Well, I'm sorry. Those people need to learn, and hopefully they'll get enough people around them to help them to learn how to think and then how to discern. And Neil deGrasse is a good one for that. Not some random other human being who leaves the institutions, who leaves peer reviews, who actually continuously bashes the entire system, and who wants to make it so that you don't believe in the very specific groups that come together. Okay, so that entire divide of this group is now bringing us bad stuff, this group instead is bringing good. That's really hilarious to a person who's smart, because they're playing to a crowd. Then it's okay, yeah, it's pretty not good. What was it? The less connected you are to what is objectively true, the less likely you are to be able to make decisions that will benefit your life, the life of your family, even civilization itself. Thank you, Neil deGrasse. So Neil is a great person to hear from, as are other experts like Bill Nye. And yes, right now it does seem like we have a little bit more of these other individuals around, but that's only because they are consistently creating content with a specific level of presence. So if you want good information as a consumer, you'll know how to find that. When you see the hype, you'll also understand how that works. And we're here to teach the younger generation how to remember to discern that which is good information, that which is instead not 100% great, and then that our scientists, like our spiritual ones, didn't know any of 100% of anything. The difference with the spiritual ones is that for those who are in communion, again, with God, Akash Source, there is, I know how to be, I know how to do. I don't suffer life because I sit and I pray, and inside of me, I'm at peace. And that's because of the ventral energy, by the way. So in my case, I've always said I'm lucky because I come with God. And I think, wow, if I were only a scientist. Then I met a bunch of scientists. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Now I know God and scientists, and you're both equally amazing. But, God's God. Let's not, compare God to any of that. But the creatorship and the energy, it's like dark matter, dark energy. Don't implode. Please let us live some more. That's how I equate it. So it's like one and in this, it's different words. That's why I play with words. It's like, yeah, tomato, tomato. That's all. That's all this is. No virtual reality. No, that's not what I meant. So belief, I believe in God. You don't have to. Science, facts, dark matter, dark energy. Please don't implode. Am I making sense yet? So when someone tells me, you're faking it, the suffering you suffer, I say, no, I'm not, but I can't prove it to you because my embodied brain, you don't own my nervous system. You can achieve what I have here, though. It's your human body and mind. Like, it's totally you're capable. The capacity is there. You just need to get curious. Zen master, you need to get over the hump. Move into curiosity when you're crying. That's all you have to do. And then you'll believe enlightenment is real because you'll be consistently in enlightenment frequency, even though I get what he's also saying. So we don't carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. Our mind and our body have been made with the capacity to perceive, sustain, process, and transcend and move beyond the suffering stuff. Emotions are felt deeply. Intensity is regulated. And when you are aware of people who identify with suffering and become consumed by it, you don't think of energy vampires, dark auras, or evils, or any of that. You just think, wow, it's so sad that they didn't choose to get out of the courage and strength, their sympathetic energy when they're writing in their diaries, when they're thinking. It's just sad to know that, yeah, there's people out there who, pain, it is part of being human. Yes, loss, illness, uncertainty, disappointment. The experiences are definitely unavoidable. We know that. Suffering, however, is optional. Go to Substack. There's a longer article if you're curious to read it. Is suffering optional? A new way to look at life. So how life becomes what you make of it. And as I was saying, it arises when pain becomes fused with rumination, resistance, or nervous system dysregulation. Okay, so the stress. It's not stress that's a problem. We have eustress when we're self-regulating. Distress is what people have when they're suffering. Mindfulness practices like mindsight skills. Mindsight comes from Dr. Daniel Siegel. You sift sensations, images, feelings, thoughts because you own your personality patterns, your temperament. You are integrated and whole. So you're easily able to notice, I am activated. Oh, wow. My activation, my charges, and all my story stuff comes from my values. Yeah. So I'm going to use a story. My facade friend, when I didn't talk to him for 5 years, that's because he treated me in a specific way. I made a conscious choice. I had a little hate box. Him and another person were in it. I talked to God about it, and that was it. And then, though, when the time came, because my friend shit hit the fan, I didn't say no. I was pissed beyond a bejesus. I still didn't want to be friends with him again, but I'm like, the right thing to do, besides God, my mother taught me manners, and my friend has no fucking friends in his life. His only friend left him to vomit at home after 14 years of a relationship where he had gotten broken up by his first girlfriend, and it was because the friend didn't want competition with other girls. So I'm like, my friend's all alone. I already know what's going on because as a mystic, I had already had some downloads on this stuff. So I was already beginning to tap into my oversoul. So I'm like, okay, I will, do that right thing. And that is where today, as I talk to you all about this, what I'm wanting to also share with my entire community is we're always going to be working on our own effective realism and our charges. That's why you grow, personal growth, spiritual growth. It's called behavioral maturing and emotional maturing, and it's really fun, which is why it doesn't get boring to be regulating depth, to think of the present. What gets sad for me when I look out there in the world is seeing so many of these small-minded groups of people with their dysregulated bodies actually, filling up just a bunch of the Schopenhauer, the masses. It's not appealing. But then I remind myself, you probably just should disengage from judging it, even watching it, and then just use more of your time to myself with the experts like Neil deGrasse and people who are doing quantum physics and who are talking about intellectually savvy conversations, because it's really really a good thing to do. So at the end of the day, we don't carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. We are actively able to understand how it works, that humanity continues to move forward, and when change is present, that those beliefs and that huge paradigm shift doesn't happen thanks Thomas Campbell, it's just not a huge paradigm shift like we put into practice micro habits to lead ourselves. I've been doing Ventral Energy since I was a kid. I've been differentiating since I was a kid. I just didn't have the words. Twin Flames didn't change this. If there's one thing that I'm thankful for to this day, as I finally was able to sit with every single bit of all of it, I'm like, thank you, God, for keeping me away. Because I would have totally been an asshole, a serious asshole. There's one human being, had I ever been able to see that human being in a very specific moment of time, I today would tell you all, I have a regret. That's how I would be. I know it because I know what I would feel ashamed of. And with the knowledge of attachment trauma, you will not want to treat anyone who will have not been gifted that which was a good foundation to succeed, another heartbreak, because they already have one that they're still unhealed from, and that breaks your heart even more because, again, friendship is a sheltering tree. Samuel Taylor Coleridge. So my facade friend, my asshole friend, I wasn't going to leave him in the dumps. When I got mad at him again 3 years after that we're friends, it was because I asked him to be himself, and instead he was lying to me again. but fake people, meaning the ones who are emotionally immature, don't know how to tell you their beliefs. So these 3 years I've been talking to him about my twin flames, about soulmates, all this stuff that was happening. And I find out as we're in a group of boys, men, and I'll call them boys, that he doesn't believe in any of it. And I was infuriated, and I go in the car because I wait, and I'm yelling at him. So he's the only man I ever yelled at in the face. This other person that I was mentioning, had I been able to get a hold of them, I wouldn't have been yelling at them, but I would have spoken words in such a way that I know already it would not have been something I would have said today. Wow, I'm so proud of myself. It would have been something I would have said, shit. If only I had known what I was dealing with, I wouldn't have done any of that, you know. So when you do understand what suffering means, and so someone who has self-loathing, gut wrench, torn apart, someone who doesn't know how to discern their own black and white thinking. Kylie, she's she's in remission from BPD, and she's a healing narcissist. And she describes this black and white thinking that happens when her boyfriend asks her either to marry her or move in or whatever, and she just flipped out. Then Dr. Daniel Fox explains this. So once you understand the technicalities, and that gave me, oh, there it is, an image, and I'm like, wow, okay, shit. Wow, that makes so much sense. I'm so happy that I know this. That is so once I understood how the mind of an impaired integrated, so not bilaterally integrated, of an individual who doesn't know how to self-regulate, so they're dysregulating. They got a bunch of shit going down always inside of them. They're scared shitless of any neutrality and any love because their body is like, this is terrifying. You're not safe. And then they continue to test it. You are going to feel very sad. And then you're going to feel very happy that you got attachment trauma informed. And now I'm a better person for all of it. But now what I've noticed is we need more people to be able to join us here, 5D Collective. Notice beliefs, we all have them. But be a grown-up about it. So don't be your emotional activated state, because you're not it. That's not who you are. You work with your personality patterns and your temperament. They're a filter through which your nervous system, here's Dr. Daniel Siegel's words, works as a whole. So that's the beauty. That's the empowering part. And as a community, we will grow more loving and more fun as we get to use the online world the right way. For the ones who want it, Substack, YouTube, TikTok, it doesn't matter. And while we can watch all the other ones, I know that I'm not going to stop watching 3D, 4D. But I'm saying, as community of people who care to talk about topics, besides there being already a Neil deGrasse who does great, but you know, it's nice to have others who just come together and talk. But the point is, totally I would have been like so sad at myself had I not had all this information. And I would have been very sad just in general, because it's not nice to know of how many people suffer life just because they didn't get the 1/3 attunement, repairing rupture. And the ones who think it's bullshit and that there's some evil inside of them. I just had another person that was a couple days ago say, or 3 days, 4, 5. Anyways, they're like, no, I'm pretty sure evil exists in this way. And I'm like, no, it's not. Oh, but you're technical. You know, we're not a machine. And I'm like, no, I know we're not a machine. That's the whole point. So when someone wants to keep using this word, evil, and then they want to keep using you have to suffer, they want to use any of the ancient stories, I'm like, you're just using words because you have emotions that are strong and you're not liking something. We all don't like being rejected, and we all don't like an unsafe world, which is what we're living in, due to there being unsafe human beings who are pathologies, might I add, not monsters. So when 4D wants to continue talking about evil and manipulation and lies being bountiful, I'm like, no, spiritual bypassers and somatic bypassers, there's not more lies. There's people who believe, individuals who are pathological. In fact, truth, anything before the word of a place makes me know, wow, you really had to exaggerate that one, huh? So the point is, epistemically curious, disciplined, diligent people, they won't need a word, an adjective, truth or false, near anything, because I'm going to discern by watching your mouth, noticing if you have smart human beings around, and then noticing if you bring peace into the world. And the peace means that you're a person who understands what a globe is. And so this is where, when I think of the mass media, what bleeds leads, and I learned that in my journalism class, because I have a political science bachelor's, I was like, excuse me, professor, So sorry. So did the professionals not give a shit? I didn't curse. I'm just doing that now. But I asked, did they not care about their job? Is this why they turned it all into the what bleeds leads? Just wondering. I don't remember his answer, but my point is that I don't find it appealing to notice professionals who don't take honor in what they do. You can't take honor in what you do if you don't take honor in yourself. Excuse me, you can't take honor of anything. The word doesn't matter if you don't own yourself. So if somebody has a very strong charge, I have a very strong charge, the minute that you have this very strong emotion, downloads any of it. Okay, so I'm just going to close on out with you're not going to use the mannerisms of dehumanizing, demonize, any of that. Okay, so when I already see people playing to a crowd with this, let's divide each other, in and out group, survivorship, bias stuff, I'm just thinking, okay, these are all reactive people. They don't know how to handle themselves. For now, we still have air, water, and food. The fact that this is happening on the level that it is isn't something that has to be this way, but for now, we still have enough of those who are dysregulated, fear-based leadership, polarized narratives. They're ego reactive. They validate their own charges. They validate their side, their likes and dislikes. So the good group is whoever they believe is good, and the bad group is whoever they believe is bad. They don't know what objective truths are or objective facts because, in fact, they're disengaging from the entire people who do research and who are experts. And they're ridiculous when they're insulting them, might I add. And the people who are following, like they're bowing down, make you begin to say, this is a joke. Because that's what it looks like to smart people. It's like, this is a joke. Is this how many people we have who don't own the capacity to use their brain? So while there's a lot more compassionate human beings out there who say that their epistemic trust was broken, I'm like, no, I know that. I got that part. I understand it perfectly because I can tell. Wendy, could you lead Peter Pan and the Lost Boys back on over to your actual grown-ass human being parents? Like, would you mind? So when you are in this sphere, you are going to be looking out there like I am, and you're like, it has to be a joke. This. And you're not going to think of there being any kind of monster if you're mystic, spiritual, because again, well, actually, I should point out is I have had cosmic karmic balancing take place. So I know things always even out from, so it's my own subjective experience. It's not a proof of anything. It's Maria has seen it. And when it happened, I wasn't happy. I was sad. I was worried. And then I was at ease because things worked out okay. And so you're not going to look out there in the world when you're perceiving the suffering and think that people are exaggerated. You're going to know, one, there's a lot of people who don't know how to regulate their nervous system. They don't have their self in the forefront. So they don't have an integrated self, an integrated brain, and a wholeness. So they're not yet fully the 9 domains of integration that Dr. Daniel Siegel talks about. One of them is temporal, which means about existential stuff. Okay, so when people don't know their purpose or their meaning, to me, it's you don't know how to regulate your nervous system. You don't own your child parts yet. Once you get to grown-up land, then maybe we'll find out if you can finally walk a walk and talk a talk. And if you do, great, you're going to be here and you're going to have a good time because that's our 5D collective, because you're not, thank you for the confirmation, you're not going to be doing what I believe is truer than what they believe. You're going to be like, okay, here are some of those facts, here are some others. Oh, look, thanks to AI and internet, we can come together with more information. Oh, look, we can continue learning. Oh, look, thank goodness, we have an entire community of people who are wanting to learn. We're going to make a difference because that's what always happens, even while we're in the trenches doing it. So it's not a huge paradigm shift. It's micro habits. That's why I created that new journal prompts, the 15 ones, and the one-day mindset practice. You're not your activated state. You're emotionally activated, reactive. You know how to handle it. So for me, to conclude with stories, luckily I was kept away in a way that allowed me time to continue learning, to continue crying, to continue learning, to settle in, and then to realize that it's a good thing. Thank you, God, for being perfect as always, because He will always, everything happens for a reason. Everything that is meant to happen will always find its way to come. Every action has a reaction. But He will always never give you more than what you can handle, and He will always encourage, strengthen, support, and He will do His best to have you become the best version of yourself, and or the energy sphere if you don't want to use He, or she can call it she. It doesn't matter. Consciousness, the love sphere, to support you to be your best, you need to be your true self, which means you need to know how you feel about life and how you are motivated. And some people don't know that. Why are you motivated? Why are you still here? What motivates you to know how to be around people? What motivates you to move from emotional reactivity or activation to your ventral energy, to contemplate growth? What motivates you to use journaling prompts, mindset practices? What motivates you to use your daily interactions, your daily relationships? What motivates you to self-regulate? And so all those questions and more, but at the end of the day, whether mystic, spiritual, or mindful, what motivates me and the entire 5D collective, I'm just going to say, is love. To remember we have today. I am happy for all of those of you who stuck around and who are here enjoying life and knowing that we can support our species to become the best version of that which is ourselves. And we might always make mistakes, but that doesn't mean we're doing it because we want to destroy ourselves or the planet or any of that. While those who do believe that self-sabotage and that destruction is what is in our nature, no, our nature is to love, but there's a scary thing called dark matter, dark energy, and our human secondary consciousness knows it. So from the scientific perspective, I can explain more about the suffering stuff, but I will also say the scientists themselves, neuroscientists, explain how neuroplasticity works. So we make use of our embodied brain. And so from emotional reactivity or activation, we move into our prefrontal and we work with our emotions. And when we notice it painting a picture, we don't have it ruling us. Our emotions are signals. The story comes with us. We then have the capacity with empowered people to talk. And that's why it's never hard work to keep a relationship. Never say never. No, it's not hard because we speak up and we also speak up with respect. And that's the practice of saying yes and no with your ventral vagal state. So that's our maturity. Welcome aboard, Embodied Self Leaders. Tune in and definitely check out PayHip. Let others know, those who do enjoy self-regulation and who enjoy, therefore, being themselves under pressure. I almost reacted then. I reminded myself that I have an embodied brain like everybody else, so I still get to do work on my own effective realism. I just don't distort things. I feel very strong emotions sometimes, and I talk about them. And we continue to journal and talk and keep doing those little things that make a difference. So thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.